Today's episode is supported by AIDS-Free Pittsburgh. There are more than 5,000 people living with HIV in southwestern Pennsylvania, and the Ryan White HIV/AIDS program provides support services to help them get the care they need. That includes assistance with things like healthcare, medications, housing, transportation, food, and treatment for substance use disorders. Visit aidsfreepittsburgh.org to learn more.
Today's show is supported by TaskRabbit. You know, as Pittsburghers, we have a strong work ethic, but sometimes we all need a little bit of help. If you're looking for someone to help you assemble some furniture, maybe start a home repair, TaskRabbit is here for you. You just download the TaskRabbit app, describe what you need, and you'll get matched with a skilled tasker. Maybe even one of your neighbors. It could be a great way to meet people. They'll pitch in, and there are no surprises because pricing is right there before you book. Download the TaskRabbit app or visit taskrabbit.com today to get those home to-dos crossed off. This is CityCast Pittsburgh. I'm Megan Harris, and here's what Pittsburgh's talking about.
I'm with Mayor Corey O'Connor in the City County building here in downtown Pittsburgh on your actual 100th day in office. Congratulations.
Thank you. Long way to go. But yeah, 100 day. I always thought this was like a media thing, like 100 days.
I think it is, but you got to like set benchmarks, right?
Yeah, no. So I found out, somebody told me this and I'll have to double check, but FDR started it.
Okay.
And then it was just a thing from there.
I mean, he was kind of a PR master.
He was pretty good at it. So it does make sense now that somebody said that he kind of coined this. And now, obviously, it's a thing. Everybody does 100 days. Yeah.
Well, we got a lot of questions, our own, but also some from our readers and our listeners. So we'll pepper those in. Let's talk progress. So one of the things that we talked to you about in January and during the campaign, and you were hinting at that point, was Red Up. So for our new folks here in Pittsburgh that's getting ready for something, I know it was a goal of your father's too. You've been posting a ton about Details Matter. Do y'all have numbers for like the volume or types of projects you've been able to accomplish in these 100 days?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I can get you the exact list, but I think it was 500 plus potholes during a blitz. There were a number of demos. There were a number of 100 plus cars that have been abandoned, that have been towed. So those things matter. And my staff's probably sick of me saying it, but the details are, if you look at, it's amazing. I don't have social media, but somebody will.
You do.
You do, just but I just don't look at it.
Fair enough.
So I do. But I think what somebody said was when we put lights on the Smithfield Street Bridge, that was like the highest volume we got in the first month because people noticed that stuff. You know, putting lights outside of certain buildings downtown that we own, painting trestles, getting rid of 100 newspaper kiosks that have no purpose anymore because nobody prints newspapers anymore.
Some of them do.
Some of them do, but not to the volume that they're downtown. And City Paper is doing well. We kept their kiosk in case they wanted print them again.
That was so hopeful
nice.
of you.
So it worked out. Yeah, they were a little worried. I said, well, we'll save them. But I think that stuff like actually impacts you. And, you know, signs that are faded. It's the small things that people pick up on. And I think if the mayor's office is focused on that, more people focus on those things. So it's a full-blown Red Up, not just for the draft, but for every day.
Well, that was my question. Is this stuff going to continue for the indefinite future?
Definitely. I mean, this is, you know, what I consider, you know, our administration's kind of, we have to do this as back to the basics. The bread and butter of the administration is doing that stuff. And even the trestles, it wasn't necessarily for the draft. We looked at it, and Chief Gilman and I were driving down Liberty one day, and he said, why don't we paint those? And it's like, yeah, why don't we? So it wasn't like, oh, the draft is coming, we have to do this. No, this is just something that should have been done long time ago. And it's those things that matter, not just for 3 days of the NFL draft, but for everybody after the fact. And all the infrastructure that's going in now is important for the draft, but also we get the benefit of it. And a number of cities have put millions of dollars in, and then their residents get an impact after the draft leaves.
Yeah. Are you still taking wish list items? Are they like 311 things? How do y'all develop that list?
Oh, yeah, no, there's 311s. You know, we go out in the community and somebody has an idea, or why isn't this painted this way, or why is this sign still here? Like, there's a lot of that stuff when you're out in the neighborhoods and you're like, oh yeah, that does make sense. Let's try it.
I'm imagining somebody DMing Dan Gilman and just being like, this is ugly. Can you fix it?
That definitely happens. A lot of people, I didn't realize until the snowstorm how many people had my cell phone. So, a lot of people, I gave it out to way too many people. But I will constantly get text, and I don't mind it. It's, somebody has an idea, and, does every idea work? No, but sometimes it takes an outside of the box thinker to come up with something, and you jump on it.
Has that been a transition for you? Like, I'm thinking of I've been at probably, I think 3 or so events over the last few months where you've looked around and been like, who has my phone? Like, yeah. I mean, it is different, like coming into an office like this from what you were doing before.
Yeah, definitely. And I think this one is different because, as controller, you're going to announce you're doing an audit. Well, the audit answer doesn't come out in an hour. It takes months. Even on council, you introduce legislation. It's not passed tomorrow. It's a couple-week process. So, everything you do now is done in an hour, or a decision you're making on public safety, personnel, all of that stuff is immediate. So I think that was kind of the adjustment is, hey, I said this, especially calling for a state of emergency. That's my ultimate call. So you're always going to have second guessers, even within staff. But I think getting as much information from the staff and then making that final decision is really important.
Yeah. I mean, you inherited so many obligations. I mean, every mayor does. But the NFL draft is just so huge. What's it been like to balance everything that comes with that with your own priorities?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely a balancing act because wherever you go, the other day we did a learn and earn press conference with the county executive, and they said, well, Mayor, we have questions. And I said, it's not about the draft again. I said, so everything's about the draft. I know. But I think, for us, it's the small things that we were able to do. So looking at permit reform, that's important, not for the draft and not for big developers, but for homeowners, for startups, for small businesses in our business districts. Like, that was a major priority. Working with our nonprofits and corporations to get, generous donations already in over $18 million. And that's from ambulances to plow trucks to the comp plan. There were a lot of things that we were able to work out quickly. And we're obviously looking at long-term agreements with some still. We're still in good negotiations on those matters. But Pitt stepped up for $1 million a year over 5 years. And, we know that people are always going to second guess that, oh, is that enough? Well, right now we're getting zero or we're losing money on lawsuits. So yeah, $1 million a year goes a very long way in the budget that we're looking at. So I think we said we were going to make those cooperations, and we've done some. There's still some more to go. And then also calling companies. And they're not just corporations, and there are some nationals that have left that we're calling. But it's the local pizza shop. Those things are important to me because I want them to know that the mayor's office knows that you are a small business in Pittsburgh and how can we help? And, that stuff I think goes a very long way.
For the permitting piece, y'all have talked a lot about wanting to kind of overhaul that. That takes time. What have you been able to tangibly do for folks? Yeah,
there's some low-hanging fruit that it's over-the-counter permits on some small stuff. It's creating, a fast lane that's going to be up and running soon so that, you don't have to go through a whole process when, it's a curb cut in front of your house. I mean, there's various things, or way too much for an HVAC thing. And then also putting them in different categories. So, a $2 million project shouldn't be in the same categories of 50. And, making sure that when you are doing projects of larger scale, that there's a roundtable discussion right now so that everybody knows what permits they need before they even get started. Because too often somebody starts down the road, especially community organizations, start down the road to build something in their neighborhood and find out that they needed 3 permits they didn't know about. That's not fair. So I think being upfront with the permitting process is going to help that system as well.
Yeah. I mean, back to the deals with, the big 4, the big 5. I feel like the criticism I hear is always something like, is it sustainable or is this a Band-Aid? Personally, I think it could probably be both, but can you tease any of the deals you're looking for or types of things want people to pay for?
I think it's multi-year, but it goes to the specific that we're asking for. So, ambulances, the hospitals, obviously.
You would still want more ambulances?
We always need more ambulances, but ambulances, public safety, if you want to lump all that together for equipment that saves lives.
Like police cars, that kind of thing?
Police cars, more or less like equipment that first responders would use,
gotcha.
I think.
Yeah.
And, fire trucks and things like that. And we do have, money dedicated to that. And this year, we put in $26 million, which was the most, I think, in decades. I can go back and check, but nobody's put that much into public safety and equipment in a very long time. Plow trucks are obviously one that's important to all of us. But then looking at it differently from parks to our Main Street plan, like money going back into things that are going to impact our neighborhoods, that's where that money needs to go. And so I think those are the discussions that we're having. And, multi-year deals will be beneficial for all of us. And it'll kind of put some of that discussion aside. I mean, obviously, everybody wants people to pay taxes, and we don't control that. That's at the state, and I've lobbied before when I was on council about that, and I'll continue to lobby. But, that's out of our hands. So what can we control that will benefit the residents? And agreements that we've already made are very helpful to making it sustainable over multiple years.
Yeah, I mean, the budget is just such a through line for everything. We got so many questions about adding shade to city parks, improving public schools, fixing sidewalks, the rising costs of utilities. I know not all of that is in your hands, but how do you personally weigh the nice to have versus the need to have? Yeah,
again, it's what impacts the most people to some degree. So trees are something that's important to all of us. It's even small details that we talk about that, at our swimming pools, why don't we have umbrellas and other places? Like, that's a small thing and it doesn't cost a lot to do. So, looking at what the overall costs are and then seeing how many people will benefit from one project or another.
Mm-hmm. Do you have plans post-draft? Everybody's talking about the build-up, and I hope it's a good party. But what's going to happen afterwards? Like concrete plans, not vibes.
Not vibes. Hopefully sleep for a little bit. But no, I think it's building off that momentum of the draft is a great success. Okay, after the draft, what people were here that could influence Pittsburgh in the future. So are there companies? Were there startups? All of those types of things. I think you have to make sure you follow up on the people that you've met at the draft. But then also we'll be on a national scale on TV. That's great. But then I want people that have never been to Pittsburgh to go home to Denver or San Diego, wherever they're coming from, and say, hey, Pittsburgh was a lot of fun, and we have all this to offer there. I didn't know that. And I think that's kind of what I'm looking for, is that sort of small buzz that you'll hear at bars in cities we've never been to before. I think that's the real benefit to the draft, is more people just regularly having conversations about Pittsburgh.
I like that you're manifesting success right out of the gate. I hope the team also is successful. I feel like we don't care about the draft the way we should.
We could talk about who they're going to pick. I'm sure that's on the list. Yeah.
CityCast Pittsburgh is brought to you today by Allegheny County. The county is recruiting poll workers, such an important job for the May 19th primary election. Poll workers, also called election officers, help run voting locations, and they earn money, $150 to $175 for the day, plus paid training before Election Day. Training can be in person or online, and new poll workers must complete it before working on Election Day. To serve, you must be a registered voter here in Allegheny County and be able to work the full day on May 19th. Poll workers play an important role in ensuring a smooth, fair election, and they gain valuable experience interacting with voters and managing the election process. If you're interested in earning a little extra money and supporting your community, apply online at AlleghenyVotes.com. Learn more and submit your application at AlleghenyVotes.com today. Today's episode is brought to you by Steal Hers Social, presented by UPMC Magee Women's Hospital. Y'all know, if you listen to the show, I am a huge sports fan. I am always down to chat with women who love football, who love the Steelers, just because, first of all, y'all have such strong opinions and you make them heard in male-dominated spaces. So if you're looking for that kind of community, mark your calendars for Steal Hers Social on May 28th. It's taking place at, of course, Acrisure Stadium, and you'll get the chance to peek into the locker room and run through the player tunnel, get access to all these behind-the-scenes spaces. There's even a player meet and greet and an opportunity to hear from women in sports. They've got raffles, giveaways, face painting, bingo. If you like to get crafty, make sure you stop by that button and bracelet making station. The event is open to women and girls of all ages, and as a CityCast listener, you get a $5 discount on the $55 ticket. Use code CITY, C-I-T-Y, and buy your tickets now at universe.com/steelhers. That's Steel, H-E-R-S. CityCast Pittsburgh is sponsored today by Window Nation. If you're a regular CityCast Pittsburgh listener, then you know we have been absolutely delighted by Pittsburgh spring. It is so nice to see the trees turn green, get that afternoon breeze. It's been such a long winter. But to really make the most of the season, you probably want some nice windows. Maybe yours get stuck. Maybe they're starting to leak. Maybe you just want a refresh. Window Nation's running their The More You Buy, The More You Save sale, which could save you up to 50% off all the windows for your home, along with 0% financing for 5 years. When you buy with Window Nation, you get to pick from over 1,500 styles and colors. Dang. And they're all custom built. They come out to measure your windows so they fit right the first time, and the installation crews are truly professionals. The crew leaders have over a decade of experience, and the installation all happens in one day. And if anything does end up going wrong, you are protected with a lifetime warranty. So hurry, the sale ends soon. Schedule a fast, free consultation now at windownation.com.
How do you approach our unhoused population? We got a lot of questions about that. Your predecessor received some criticism for what folks, I think, called sweeps of things. Like, how are we able to take care of people and kind of build in that sustainability?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this before, but it's partnering with the county and DHS and our OCHS division that's been out there a lot, and our social workers continue to invest in them, looking at new locations, vacant spaces that we could adopt to.
So you're talking about like more permanent structures to get them housed,
whether it's a permanent structure, but also supporting individuals where they are. Not everybody can get to the support at one location or another. I think not necessarily a permanent structure, but having various locations and having more people roaming around, which we've been doing, is helpful. I also think it's working with groups. I had a meeting the other day. An individual wants to put in transitional housing. That's great. We are short hundreds of transitional housing units, and I know this from an audit I did when I was the controller. So it's things like that somebody says, okay, you build a house and there's 3 transitional units. Well, that's 3 more than we have right now. And that's the type of housing that we're missing, those gaps. It's not just from a shelter where you're getting support that you need for, mental health, drug, and alcohol addiction, and then straight into, a unit. That can't happen. Individuals struggle when that happens, and we've seen those things happen. So focusing on transitional housing is one that we have to do. And obviously housing is a long conversation. We know we need more affordable units. We need market rate units. But what I want to do is turn the tide on the unit conversation and talk about rooms within projects. So having multiple bedrooms in a one-story or in a single family home.
Like higher density.
Higher density, counting the rooms is more important to me than the units, because now all of a sudden a young person, he or she just got married, they want to have a family, but they're in a one-bedroom studio. Well, you're not going to raise kids there. So, how do we start building units that have multiple ways to grow your family? And then also for our seniors that want to move back in with their kids, and there's no accessory dwelling units. Like, those are really the details that have to be focused on and counted more than just general units.
When you talk about young families, I'm wondering how you have approached our public school system. In the run-up in the campaign, I heard someone call our public school system one of Pittsburgh's greatest liabilities, and I can't get that out of my brain. It makes me so sad. Have you talked to the superintendent?
We have, yeah. We've had good conversations.
Do y'all have plans? Is there something the city can tangibly do?
Yeah, they're working on their plans right now on what their closing or opening or keeping open, and that's their decision. But I think we have to have the conversation after that is final. What happens to those buildings? They're right in the hearts of a lot of our neighborhoods. How are we going to utilize them? How do we have a partnership of growth and opportunity? And we've had good conversations about giving, neighborhood groups or the city access to some of their buildings that sit vacant where they have swimming pools. Little things like that really matter. But we've had good conversations. I have gotten the question, would you as mayor like appointments to the board? Absolutely. I think, obviously there's 9 elected individuals from across the city. I would not ever mess with that. That's an elected body. But if there's any way that the mayor has a say and a couple of appointees to the board to help bring in a different aspect, is something that has been discussed, and I wouldn't say no if something like that happened.
City school board's going to be as big as county council if it keeps going. What do you feel? How do you feel about new stadiums? The leases are coming up for PNC Park and Acrisure. They're going to expire soon. I heard the Steelers are asking for $1 billion.
So that there are discussions going on now between myself and the executive and the SEA, and what that looks like. These are facilities that obviously bring in a lot of revenue, and they bring in a lot of people. And they are older than we think. I mean, I remember when it was built, but you think that was yesterday. It's been 20 plus years. They have a lot of wear and tear. So for us, the long-term conversations are, whatever that number ends up being, what are the benefits to the community? I have to look after my residents, and when there is a football game, it's usually, it's our police, it's our fire, it's our EMS that are called first if there's an incident. So what are the community benefits that we see? And I think that would be part of a discussion if we were to get further along and what that looks like. But a lot of these stadiums need upgrades, and it's not just seating, it's also technology. You want to host concerts, technology is ever changing, and these stadiums don't have that technology that they need upgrades in, as they did before.
$1 billion feels like a lot. I heard Sarah Innamorato, or she told us that she would not consider a roof. Do you have thoughts or feelings?
A roof? No,
yeah,
it's
because
not.
We'll never get a Super Bowl without a roof.
It's not real football with a roof. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Hot take.
Real football is when it's cold and the grass is torn up, which it is there every game, whether it's 90 degrees or -10. So
sometimes it gets us good attention, but sometimes it gets us bad.
But no, I mean, that's Steeler football has to be played outdoors. But also, we always forget, and I don't because I'm a big baseball guy, but like the Pirates are doing well right now. That if they make it to the playoffs, that is the toughest ticket in town because
you're already going playoffs. You really are like manifesting joy
here.
Well,
so just so you know, I said it at a press conference. If it happens, I'm taking full credit.
Okay.
I have already requested that the Boulevard of the Allies and Grant Street be blocked off on October 28th for a World Series celebration. So I am very in on the Pirates. Now, maybe, somebody, when I said that, they were like, I wonder what's wrong with the mayor today. And I said, look, if I'm not going to support them, who is? And baseball's my favorite. So, I think that's what I'm hoping.
Have you hoisted a cone so far this season?
Not yet. I'm also superstitious, oddly enough, even though I just predicted something that I shouldn't have. But I have not hoisted a cone yet. I'm sure at some point I will.
Okay, I feel like we need to fix that immediately.
I will get the cones out.
Yeah. You have access to so many.
There's a lot of cones in Public Works, yes.
Yeah. But back to the leases. I think a disconnect for some people is, you look at PNC Park and it is just stunning. It is still consistently rated one of the most beautiful parks in all of America. How do you explain that to people that they might want a new space completely or significant upgrades when they're so highly ranked?
Yeah, I mean, upgrades aren't necessarily changing the outside of the stadium. So you're not
talking about imploding.
Adding bleachers, you're not imploding it and building a new one. No, what you're looking at is the internal stuff that gets wear and tear. The HVAC units, the elevators. There's a lot that gets so much wear and tear over the years. And it's not just, the 82 82 baseball games that they host, or 81 baseball games, but it's also see, I'm counting a playoff game.
I know, I hear you.
But it's also, concerts that happen there. There's activities in the summer. There's a lot that goes on in those buildings, and again, the technology is a lot more expensive than people think, and you want to have good experiences when it comes to sound systems and things like that. So that's why those upgrades happen, but no structural changes that I've heard of. It's more upgrades to systems, and again, there will be a long conversation about both teams on that.
And how much taxes play a part in all that, I'm sure.
It's a big conversation, yes.
What's your plan to retain young people in the city? I know we talked about families, but do you have anything specific? I saw folks talking again, this is on a national scale, about cities potentially paying or offering bonuses to people willing to live in a city. Is that a thing we would even consider?
I think if you're going to look at something like that, I think if you were to build housing that's specific in certain areas that we need, so whether it's public safety, nursing, teaching, artists, if you're going to subsidize housing for those industries, that's something that I've definitely been interested in doing or trying to figure out how that would work in Pittsburgh. But I think for us, it's still just telling that story. You have a lot of students that come here, and how do we keep them here? So making Pittsburgh more vibrant, having more event space for them, having more gatherings where there's students that are interacting with one another. I mean, some of the times, Pitt students and CMU students may never meet, and it's like, well, you're right down the block. Like, why are there not events that we can bring all students? And Point Park's, a couple bus stops away. So there's a lot of activity, especially Duquesne and Point Park are right next to each other. So there's a lot that we can do with students to say, hey, why are you leaving? Pittsburgh has everything that major cities have to offer right here. So I think that's got to be the sales pitch. So we're constantly going on campus, talking to students, being part of any event we can be, especially with young people.
I appreciate the student pipeline, but what about boomerangs? I say that because I've met so many of them lately, and they all seem kind of in awe to be back. They just haven't wrapped their head around the fact that they've come home. But I think they have a superpower. They know all the inside jokes, but they left and got perspective, and now they're home again and they can contribute. It's great, but they all seem stunned. They don't seem like they did it on purpose.
So what I would say is you're going to see the draft. You're going to have more boomerangs here than you would expect. Visiting. But then it's like, wait, I haven't been here in 10 years. Look at what they did in the Strip District. Look at this restaurant. Oh, that bar that was vacant is now open again. Take a pick on a million of those stories in Pittsburgh. But that's also the companies that we're calling have Pittsburgh connections. And
everybody's got a Pittsburgh connection.
Everybody has a Pittsburgh connection. And why not tap into that? Somebody, the other day said, how are you going to grow? I said, Pittsburgh can grow just by being Pittsburgh and telling our story.
Well, I don't know that that's true, or we'd be bigger.
Well, we want to get a little bit bigger. But the thing about that is there's so many people that when they come and visit, and those are visitors that have never been here. But then if you go to another city and you're at a restaurant and somebody mentions Pittsburgh, as a Pittsburgher, you jump up and say, oh, where are you from? How do you know about Pittsburgh? And then we are the best
You're comparing high schools. It happens
right, you're doing all that. We are the best salespeople for Pittsburgh as Pittsburghers, because wherever we go, we're going to talk about it. And let's say you're in Michigan and you're never coming back, but you're going to come and visit your family. We'll guarantee you when the draft's on or there's a Steeler game or a Pirate game and the Penguins are in the playoffs, you are going to talk about Pittsburgh. And I think that's something that not many cities have as much pride as we do.
I wondered how long it would take you to bring up the Pens playoff run.
I mean, as the general manager, I think it's really important that I promote the club.
You're really leading into the Kyle Dubas of it all, yeah? Okay.
I can only imagine the questions that are coming from that, yes. And we play the Flyers, which is great.
I mean, that's just fun.
Yeah.
It's almost as good as the poop game in baseball. Kind of talking about, I didn't realize that business was open. I feel like we've lost a lot of institutions lately, or had announcements to that effect. Breweries that have been around since the 90s, Primanti's locations. Does any of that make you nervous? How do you interpret that?
People, it's private business, and
of course,
they're doing what they feel is necessary. I know Hemingway's is closing, but again, that's the owner after X amount of years. Fatheads is closing, and again, that's. These owners are making their decisions.
It just feels like it came 1, 2, 3. It was,
if there was something to each one that it was, the city could help make that change, we would be more than happy to keep, as many businesses open as possible. But you also have great locations. So, one thing closes, another thing can open up. And there are a lot of priorities out there where a lot of small businesses over the next couple of years, I think it's in the county or the region, it's about 60,000 small businesses will close. So there are programs out there that will give, young entrepreneurs some capital to take over those businesses. And I think that's great. So working with programs like that go a very long way in keeping those small businesses vibrant.
One more. We got several questions about bathrooms in public spaces. People want to be able to go to these busy districts like the Strip District, for example, but they don't know where to pee. Is that something the city can help with?
I'm not a doctor, so I can't help them.
You know what I mean, though. Like,
yeah.
if you go to like a concert in Point State Park, you genuinely have to ask yourself, what do I do here?
Yeah. I know they tried some public bathrooms in the past, but I do think when there are special events, and we know that, obviously the draft is one, but when there's Picklesburg and things like that, I do think, making sure that we have enough amenities so that people feel comfortable is something that we have to focus on and do better. But again, it's not just a pop-up. You're going to put something out there on a Thursday. I think it's centered around events more than anything else.
But what about for like regular people? Like I'm thinking like Sure Thing, for example. It was so cool. You actually had to kind of hoof it to get to a bathroom around the corner.
Yeah, I think that's working with promoters and who's running the events to make sure that, we have enough accessibility to people's needs.
But like our in-house
events.
Community too. Like, they can't just pop into a Starbucks and buy
Correct.
something.
Yeah. And I think, there was at times some pop-ups. And now I think, looking into what type of benefits we can provide in the future that could work when it comes to those things. Yeah.
I'm a big cheerleader. Everything looks so nice. Like they're ripping plastic off of everything downtown today. It's so cool. I just want it to stay that way. And giving people a safe and accessible place to go to the bathroom does seem wise to keep it nice.
We will do our best on that one. Yes. But I don't disagree. Yes. Accessibility is a big thing.
And I'll end here. One intrepid reader would like to know what type of tea you like the best, which you just said off mic is actually your preferred morning drink. So I'm kind of shook. I don't know if this person knows you.
Yeah, I don't know who that is.
What is
so
it?
I do not drink coffee. Somebody said, how do you exist? I said, I just keep going. I think it's the energy you just have every day.
High on life. Got it.
Yeah. So I usually just drink iced tea. And it's actually funny when I take the kids to Kelly O's or I have a meeting at Kelly O's because I go there so often, they just throw iced tea on the table and everybody's like, did you even order that? I'm like, no, they know I drink iced tea. What did I try the other day? It was an interesting one. It was like an orange sliced tea with, I forget what they mixed into it, but it was decent. I'll try anything, but coffee, I will not drink coffee.
Well, that's fine. Are you a Turner's iced tea stand?
Oh, Turner's, definitely, yeah. Don't worry. There's a lot of half drinking jugs of Turner's in my refrigerator at home, just because if I'm out to eat and I bring it home and I just don't finish it, it's
I didn't know if you were going to say car, if this was going to be like rumbling around. Like people just hand you Turner's now out in public.
That would be great. Is that a perk to the job? Because I would love for people to just be handing out Turner's tea.
I think you get to set the priorities.
Okay. I'll see if I can pass that as an ordinance. Yeah.
Put
it in city code. Yeah.
We got so many questions. We'll save them for another day. Mr. Mayor, thank you so much.
No, thank you. Thanks for coming in again.
That is all for today here on CityCast Pittsburgh. A huge thanks to Mark D, Becky F, Kevin G, Ben C, Vicky N, Mike B, Matthew F, Jeremy B, Megan G, Emma P, Michael I, and truly all the rest of yins who submitted questions for this. We are really grateful to all of y'all. Please keep them coming. And we're going to take on a few more of your questions in our Friday show, so stay tuned. These will be some of the ones where we kind of sort of already knew at least a portion of the answer, and we wanted to get into the context of it all. So please tune in tomorrow. We will be back then with more from around the city. We'll talk to you soon. Is that like a quick shot like we used to take to the club? Yeah. Wow. Okay.
You took that to the club?
You didn't take that? I'm sure someone in your group had like you know what I'm talking about?
On the
wristlet?
On the wrists?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
I didn't even think
quick
about that.
cameras.
Okay, got
yeah.
it.
And then you downloaded everything to Facebook as if there were no consequences.